Well, hey crafty friends, it's Hiedi Scott with DiyDreaming, and on this quick video I'm going to introduce you to this thing that I'm trying to recreate, and it's like an antique collectible kind of thing. They're called intaglios, and I'm going to put a whole article or a blog post that tells the whole history of them here in the comments. But anyways, I found some that I loved and they were just ridiculously expensive. So I decided to sort of come up with something myself. And I'm not exactly there. We'll do this again, maybe even tomorrow. But this is what I'm using. This is Fimo Air, F-I-M-O Air. It came from Michael's. And it says that it is modeling clay air drying, okay, and it's white. So I'm going to show you two different ways that you can make intaglios, and then we're going to talk about how you can actually display them. And yeah, and we're going to actually do a couple. So, okay, so there's two different kinds. The first kind are the ones that I made first before I had any molds. And they are made by rolling out a ball of this clay, smushing it down, trying to get it sort of round. And then for this one, right here, I took this little cameo pin and pressed it in there, and it has it has the cameo shape on the inside, and then I painted the whole thing. This little teeny one, and by the way, they came in a variety of sizes, so before you think this is way too small, some intaglios were really little. This one was the same idea. I rolled out a ball, smushed it flat, and then I used what I had on hand. Surprise, surprise, a metal button that kind of looks like a cross, and I pushed that in. And then I painted the edges. So we're going to do something else, this idea. And this would be really pretty mounted on something like this. When I was looking at pictures, I noticed that people will either do a bigger intaglio by itself or a combination of 2 or 3 smaller ones. So I'm going to show you how to do this kind of a little canvas as well. The next kind I made today, I've been fooling around. I made with this set from Amazon of molds, and they are cameos. They're also pretty small, but they're pretty fabulous, and some of them have these little frames. This one I like the best. Let me know if you would like this information of where to get these on Amazon, and we'll do one. Let's see, we'll do this one. So let me know if you would like that information. Okay, so starting at the beginning, I am just going to take some of my modeling air dry clay out of this little container. I'm going to get a piece of parchment paper to work on. And I'm not a pro at this. This is really my first time working with it. One thing I did figure out is that if you are too impatient to wait for these to air dry, which could be a day or 2, and I'm totally too impatient, you can put them in the oven on a parchment paper, on a cookie sheet at around 200 degrees for 30-40 minutes. Flip them over once, and that speeds up the air drying process. Okay, so I have some things pulled out that I was thinking about using. This is a coin, I think it's too flat. one is the one, this was one of my dad or grandfather's archery metal things. I know I have some larger cameos and some pretty stuff in the safe box, but this is what I had at home. This could be pretty. So I think we're going to see if we can get anything with that. And I'm going to just grab a rolling pin and kind of try to roll this sort of flat. It's not a circle at all. I ordered another mold that's very similar to this, but it's all different crosses. And so I think that could be really pretty too. These ones, the image on the little piece of clay are indented because I'm pressing down like with a stamp almost. The other ones that I'll show you in a minute are made with the mold, so they're a raised relief, I think is what that's called. So I'm just going to use this. We'll see if it does anything at all. Put it on my clay. It sure did. Yay. Okay, so this is what this looks like. And you can use one of these little palette knives or a sharp knife or something to cut your piece of clay into a circle if you want, or you can just kind of try to work it into a circle. And I will put this in the oven when I'm all finished so that it can be drying. So that's one way. And the exact same thing is what I did with this little cameo. I just pushed it into the clay and then I painted the whole entire thing. All right, so those are the ones that we're kind of stamping. The next thing I want to show you, we'll keep this out, is how you do these molds. And most intaglios, I've been reading all the history about it. It's so interesting. It was in the 16, 17, 1800s. Young men in Europe would, as part of growing up, they would go away on this grand tour of Italy and Greece and maybe a few other countries in Europe. And they would collect, they would purchase these intaglios, different sizes, as sort of a souvenir from the places they'd been. And most of the time they were either reliefs of famous men or famous battles or famous places that they wanted to remember. So that is basically how that, I don't need to flatten that, how that got started. Okay, so I'm going to take off some pieces and just start smooshing it into sure that you get it all the way in. Okay, and then I'm going to shave with this a little bit off the top. They take longer to dry if they're too thick. Whoops, and that pulled the whole thing out. Let's start again. in the comments if you have any of these. They're kind of a collector thing. I've seen them like at antique stores. Ballard's carry some. I don't know if the ones that Ballard carries are legit, actual old intaglios or not, but in my opinion they were just way too expensive. So I decided I was going to figure out how to make something that was reminiscent of intaglios. They're kind of like a cameo, that idea, but they are made generally out of plaster or stone. Okay, so once you get your clay all smushed in, then I have seen posts where people will put these in the freezer and the little thing will pop right out, but this is pretty soft, so you can just kind of do a little flexible bending. And it should fall right out. Okay. Let's see if we can fix this. It really looked pretty good to me. We're going to paint some that I've already done in just a minute. And then I'll talk to you about how to mount them. Oh, and I picked these frames up at Goodwill today. They need something inside of them, a nice either piece of scrapbook paper or some like cream colored velvet or something. I got 2 of them and they were $1.09 a piece. So I'm going to keep looking for the perfect kind of frame. I want one that's long and skinny. Anyways. When this little lady fell out, she kind of smushed her head a little bit. That over here to dry. I could just leave it out to dry overnight. And I'm going to make sure I keep this in plastic with as little air in there as possible so it will last a long time. Okay, so next thing. The real thing intaglios were generally either left completely plain, the color plaster, or they were completely covered in probably gilding, like this one. This is just paint. Or they had just the edges done. And I like both of these styles here better than just leaving them plain. So here are some that I cooked to make them get hardened quicker. There's one. Here's another one. And here is another one. And what I noticed about these is that the edges seem kind of rough. So I was like, I bet you I could just get an fingernail file out and use this to file down some of the rough edges. Let me see if I can show you a spot. And I'm not worrying if they're not a perfect oval. So I'm just filing down. Okay, so I have 2 of this lady. I'm going to do one of them all in gold, and the other one just the edge. Let me just get this one filed just a little bit. Okay, and the back of it doesn't look great, but that does not matter. Okay, so we'll do that, and then I'm going to talk to you about this, about doing one of these little stretched artist canvases. Okay, and I'm using the gold that I have on hand, which is Folk Art Treasure Gold. All right, so let's do one of these with just the edging. When I was doing the ones before, I did notice that it takes generally about 2 coats. Okay, so here's our lady with a little bit of gold edging. So that's one option. I'll finish that up when I'm done. Now let's do the second one that I have this, the same mold, and let's do the whole thing in gold. You would think that painting it would make it hard to see what it was, but it really doesn't. Once you get the whole entire thing painted, you can still tell what it is. Let me show you this so far. Let's finish that. And then the next thing I want to do, so I'll finish all these other ones up off camera, but I want to show you how to do the edging. If you want to use a stretch canvas, then I would use the same gold paint that you chose, whatever that was, to do around the intaglio, to do some edging on this. And this is such a simple thing. Oops. Just going to pour a little bit of paint in a paper plate. Gosh, I did not need that much. I hate to waste anything, so I'm just going to put some of this back in the bottle. Okay. What we're trying to get to is this look. So I'm using a Dollar Tree plastic palette knife. I'm just dipping it in my gold paint here. And I'm going to hold it like this. And I'm just going to run it around the edges. personally like it when you have thinner lines mixed with like blobby spots. So I'm not even upset about those blobs right there, right here. And you could, if you wanted, come back after this is dry and do the whole side, which I think that might be nice. Let's try it on this other one that is dry. I knew that I was going to be doing mine with gold edges or in gold. So when I went to Goodwill today, I was looking for gold frames. It's definitely going to need a second coat. But I just want you to see. Yeah, and I think that'll look great if I end up putting something like this on it. Okay, so if you want my supply list, just let me know. I'll give you the names of the paint and everything. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. If you feel like sprinkling, sprinkle away. Do this or this if you liked this project. And let me know if you're going to try, because if you try it, I definitely want to see how yours comes out. If you want to just do the kind of stamped version, if you have a large, I have several large cameos, but they're in our safe box at the bank. I think this looks really great, or something that has like a cross type design, just an old button. So keep in mind, there's lots of different things that you could do. Kimberly says that she loves this idea. I do too. You know, I was having dreams about it last night. I was so excited. Anyways, okay, so keep watching. I'll be back either tomorrow or Monday with more. Yeah, and that's basically what I want to tell you for right now.